What's up, Vincent Valentine EX Turk? I had to record the audio. Something happened to the audio, so this is actually a re-upload. But anyways, this is to the Final Fantasy fan base. At least I want to talk about how bad Final Fantasy 15 was, which I disagree. And here's my and stuff like that. It's the same thing you said. I always want something to cry about 13. But that's not the point right here. The point here, I'm here to prove all these fanboys wrong with another Final Fantasy segment, or should I say Final Fantasy 15 segment. Top 5 reasons Final Fantasy 15 was a great game and still is a great game today, even with its imperfections at launch. Okay, the combat system. Let's talk about the combat system. The combat system is very revolutionary. It did good. It did what it needed to do for other people, and it made the game a lot more enjoyable for people who didn't play Final Fantasy. I got my cousin into Final Fantasy basically with this. I mean, he was into Final Fantasy 7, but like I got him to play another Final Fantasy game just because the combat system. Again, the combat system is like Assassin's Creed and Batman Arkham Knight style. But you still get to keep your Final Fantasy combat parts of it too. Like, you still have to level up, you have to increase your search, and you have to, upgrade your skills, upgrade your weaponry, armor, accessory, etc. Just like the older Final Fantasy games. So it kept some of the old gameplay while adding, but while adding new aspects where it's enjoyable for both Final Fantasy fans and just casual gamers. For just casual gamers who just want to just put in a video game and play it. So the battle system is number 1, the best, but the luminous battle system is the best one. People forgot about active time system after this. It's the best battle system any Final Fantasy game has, and it took us all the way up to 15 to get something that everybody would like to play, for at least battle system for combat wise. The Luminous engine is the best engine for this, and that's number 1. Number 2, the story. The story was okay. It kept its versus 13. Yeah, it kept its versus 13 with elements without actually being versus 13. Like, yes, I'll admit, yes, they took out Emperor Idolus like they did. They only like 2 scenes. One scene where you see him in that throne room talking about his plans to take out the Oracle and King Regis's progeny, Noctis. Then after that, he turns into a demon. You have to fight him as a demon named Pharoas. Now, I like that new Game Plus put more detail. And it's not no cutscenes, but it's little hints that happen. You could read pieces of paper and all that stuff in the Magic Tech Factory and figure out what happened. Now, I have not played New Game Plus, mind you. This is for people who have played New Game Plus and actually got all the way through the end. But even though they added more and stuff like that, the point is, the story is just wonderful as it is. Yes. But they took out lots of things that was going to lead to Versus 13, which made the game a lot shorter. But they had to take out things with Etrel and stuff, or it would be Versus 13. What would be so fun about playing the same game that was going to be released back then? This is supposed to be a new game. This is supposed to be pretty much a new game. A new concept, but still kept its Versus 13 elements. You got the main characters. Some of the main characters, all they did is replaced Stella for Luna Freya. Turned Arden Azunia into the main villain. So it did its job. Not to mention the story was a lot darker now. Was a lot darker, and I like the fact that they did what they did because Stella wasn't killed off, so So it's kind of interesting, and yes, this is a spoiler, but the game has been out for at least a couple of months or 3 months, if you want to, if my counting's right. But so I don't give a, I'm not gonna hear about the whole spoiler thing. But Luna Freya dies, so it took us by a surprise. So it was a good surprise, and some of the things was just like the trailer for Final Fantasy 15 that Tetsuya Norma put out there. They just changed some things in because this is now a Tabata game. So, if by Crisis Core and Type 0, Tabata is a man to do the job for dark storyline. And the game was dark. Like, the main villain, Arden Azunia, was pretty much the Satan allegory of Final Fantasy. He pretty much, Arden Azunia was Satan, pretty much. So, there's only one way to defeat him. So it went to the darker side. Like, sure, Kefka has blown up the world. Sephiroth has come back as a parasite that put an illness that wipes out an entire population. I mean, half the population in Gaia. But Arden has done this for 1,000 years. He's manipulated both Insomnia and the Niflheim Empire from the inside. And he's not only that, he's plunged the world into darkness, just like Bahamut predicted. If you remember the 10 years where Noctis was locked up in prison, demons run around killing people. You don't get to see the demons killing people, but you see demons out there. So you can imagine how much casualties are there. So I'd say Arden has 10 times more casualties. I'd say probably around equal as Kefka, from what he did. Plus, he's an immortal. And not only that, Arden actually was the only Final Fantasy villain to truly win. Now, don't say, well, what about Caius? Yeah, Caius did what he did, but Caius is a spin-off villain. We're talking about main villains. Arden has got revenge, because Noctis had to kill himself to get rid of the ring. And the only way you get rid of Arden is if the ring's destroyed permanently and never made to come back. That's why he told Arden, this time, you can rest in peace for good. Meaning that this time, it's all over. Arden's not ever coming back now, because all the Lucius Kings are gone. So that was good, too. That was a good part of the story. It kept you on the edge of your seat. It brought the same darkness that Crisis Core and Type 0 had. And that's what we wanted. That's what we wanted right there. Is the same kind of darkness that those games had. So it was just, I think it was kind of important for that to happen. So, the story mode is just on point. I think that's number 3 or 2 or 3. But anyways, 3 would be let's see, gameplay. I like the cars. I like the modern gameplay that this had. I like all this other stuff that this had going for it. It was really, really good, and it did what it needed to do, and it kept Final Fantasy modern, but in a way that it did not hurt the game, because it still had its old stuff. You could actually play the old music from the older Final Fantasy games, and in some of the storytelling, even though it's like a Crisis Core Type 0 storyline, it still had some of the classic storytelling with new mechanics like driving, cooking food in order to level up, taking selfies. So it stayed relevant to the new generation. In fact, it was actually one of the most bought Christmas games, holiday games that was there. So it was like, it did what it needed to do, and I gotta give props for that. So it kept the new gen people liking it, but also in a way where the old Final Fantasy gen fanboys could actually enjoy it. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't too, it wasn't. It was just where it needed to be with this mechanics. Now I will admit I kind of like the car better than the airship, because they've always done airships. I'm sorry, they've always done Sid running, Sid's in airships. Yeah, Sid was in this one, but that's not the point. The point is, they've always done the airships somehow, whether it's a pilot named Sid, or this person pilot, or this and that. They've always done airships, and quite frankly, it gets tiring. So it's like, I'm glad they made a little change, but it's also good because then now, like I said, it made it so the old and new people could play this. Like adults who've been playing Final Fantasy 1 on the original Nintendo could also be the same kind of generation that plays this and still enjoy it, which that was really 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 good. I liked it. I liked where it was headed. So I like where it was headed. So I'd have to give a number. I'd have to give a number 3 to game. The gameplay. So I think 4 would 4. I don't know what 4 could possibly be, to be quite honest. I guess I like that they got a lot more dungeons than natural, and it has like ongoing gameplay, which that made it better. I like how the astrals or the summons are very important in the game. So I like the way summons were portrayed. It's just not, you don't just summon one of the summons and that's it and they go back. They actually have a part in the story and in the gameplay. So it was actually worth with that. Now I will complain and say that there could have been more of Ravis Nox Fleury. There could have been more Idolus. There could have been even more Luna Freya, Prompto's Pass, Ignis's Pass. But hey, it did what it needed to do. So I'd say Astrals and backstories told it simplistically in a style that you would have to play the game so many times to figure out what's going on by also watching Kingsglaive and Brotherhood at the same time. So I would have to say the backstories and Astrals or summons were like, number 4. Number 5, I'm trying to think what number 5 would be that made it so good. I already know it had a good throwback. Number 5 would be, oh man, I don't even know what I could talk about with number 5. This game did so well despite the short story and the, added stuff, such as, the expanded story from New Game Plus and stuff like that. I like that, I like that you could, I like the item system. You could take your item to the New Game Plus because it's frustrating to earn all that stuff. It was hard for me to do that, so I'm glad that they actually changed it. Character development was really good in this game too. But we're not talking. I like the whole item system too. Like every item does one thing for you, even if it's an item for weak people. Every little item actually count. And I gotta say, I like that, and I like like I said, I like the graphics engine. It plays really well now. It does need to put another patch so PS4s don't run very hard, but it's been doing that right now. Which I understand. Look at how much details. You don't even need a 4K to play Final Fantasy 15. It's that much HD of a game. Now, I think I'm gonna, like I said, I'm getting a little bit over time on this, so I gotta watch my time on this. But anyways, it's like, this is exactly what we wanted for a Final Fantasy game. HD, but make it so the old and new players could play, but also people who have not played a Final Fantasy game before. Now, may the crystal be with you. I want to see the comments on the end of this. If you have any comments, may the crystal be with you. Comment what